what's up everybody? This is EJ David, and this is a response to some interview questions that Fil-Am has sent to me. And so there's quite a bit of questions, so I'm just going to go through them. Okay? Here's the first one. I was born in Pasay by Kapampangan parents. I also grew up in Parañaque and Las Piñas while going to school in Don Bosco, Makati. When I was 14, I moved to Barrow, Alaska, which is the northernmost point in the United States. I played competitive high school basketball and was an all-state basketball player for 2 years. After that, I attended the University of Alaska Anchorage to obtain my bachelor's degree in psychology while working at a local mental health agency and also as a roughneck in the oil fields around Prudhoe Bay. Then I attended the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where I received my master's and Ph.D. in clinical community psychology. Now I'm a faculty member in the psychology department at the University of Alaska Anchorage, with my primary duties being with the doctoral program and the students in our clinical community Ph.D. program. Well, none of these were really planned. I was never the type of student who was really into school when I was young. All I really cared about was basketball, and I had no intention of going to college, becoming a doctor, or becoming a professor. All I wanted was to eventually play in the Philippine Basketball Association, which is like the NBA for the Philippines. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. If I was going to go to college, it was so that I could play college basketball. I didn't care about school at all. But when I was a sophomore in high school, I became really curious about why many people made fun of my Filipino accent, the way I dressed, and my Filipino values and mannerisms. I also began to ask myself why I made fun of fobs, regarded lighter skin as more attractive, and regarded why many products that were made in the USA as better than anything from the Philippines. I also began to see that many Filipinos and Filipino Americans did and thought the same things. Given that psychology is the scientific study of human thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors, it gave me hope that somehow I will find answers to these questions that I have about myself, my friends, my family, my loved ones, and the rest of the Filipino and Filipino American community. So what really inspired me to pursue a career in psychology is a selfish reason, to understand myself and those around me better. But I learned quickly enough that the questions I was asking about myself and the people I love are also questions many Filipinos and Filipino Americans are asking and struggling with. And this further drove me to go into psychology, to not only serve myself, but also the community. Filipino American Postcolonial Psychology is a book about the injustices and maltreatments that Filipinos and Filipino Americans experience historically, such as colonialism, and contemporarily, such as modern-day racism and discrimination. The book, right here, discusses such historical and contemporary realities as the catalysts for why many Filipinos and Filipino Americans today have colonial mentality. Also, the book talks about the psychological and mental health consequences of colonial mentality, relating it to how it may negatively affect our sense of kapwa, ethnic identity, self-esteem, and mental health. The main reason why I decided to explore colonial mentality is to wake up the Filipino and Filipino American community. I think it's time for us to become aware, if not accept, that colonial mentality has been negatively affecting us and our loved ones for many generations. It is time for us to become aware of how colonial mentality may exist and operate within us so that we can at least keep it under control. By keeping it under control, then we can at least begin the process of stopping its effects and stopping the possibility that we pass it on to future generations of Filipinos and Filipino Americans. colonial mentality has negatively affected us, our loved ones, and our culture and ethnicity for many generations now. It is time that we stop it. As the term suggests, being Filipino American to me means that a person is both. A person who is biculturally competent, meaning that a person who can function in, knowledgeable about, be comfortable in, and is proud of both the Filipino and American cultural contexts. There are plenty of research now suggesting that we as humans are complex and advanced enough to be able to have multiple identities successfully. There are also plenty of research now suggesting that our brains are complex and advanced enough for it to be able to successfully navigate between two cultures, languages, or whatever else. So, it is very possible for us to be truly biculturally competent, to be truly Filipino American. Like I mentioned above, there were many rough times. People made fun of me because I was too Filipino for their taste. I got the message that for me to become accepted, I needed to be as American as possible and to be as less Filipino as possible. So I tried to get rid of my accent, tried to act and dress like everyone else, and tried to separate or distance myself from other Filipinos who I began to see as too Filipino. However, there were also a lot of good experiences. Many people from different cultures were also very nice to me and helped me out, supported me. I think this is important to point out, that just because many of us are standing up against the injustices that we have experienced, it does not mean that we are accusing everybody of such wrongdoings. It's not about blaming others or looking for someone to blame. It is about working together so that we can all try to eliminate the injustices that a lot of cultures around the world have experienced and are still currently experiencing. One advice I can give is to be strong and try not to let the inferiorizing and oppressive messages that you are receiving from other people, even from other Filipinos, about the Filipino ethnicity or culture to lead you toward being ashamed and embarrassed of your heritage. Don't believe the message that in order for you to become accepted and become successful in America, you need to forget about being Filipino. This message is false. Like I mentioned earlier, we are capable of being competent in both the Filipino and American cultures simultaneously. We don't need to choose one over the other. We do not need to abandon, forget about, ignore, or belittle our heritage in order to be good Americans. I think we need to have more genuine pride in our culture and heritage. What I mean by genuine pride is to always be consistent with it. Let's not claim that we are proud to be Filipino by wearing Filipino pride t-shirts or other Filipino gear, but at the same time make fun of fobs or mock others for their Filipino accent. We should also acknowledge that our community is not perfect, or that not everything is all good. We need to stop pretending like we are a model minority with no problems, with pretty cool cultural dances, with nice scarves and nice clothes, good food, with fancy community banquets that sell $100 dinner plates. The fact of the matter is, we have plenty of concerns in our community. The reality is that we have plenty of community members who are struggling, who are working 2 or more jobs just to make ends meet, and therefore cannot attend fancy banquets or participate in cultural dances. We need to stop ignoring these issues and address them instead. It hurts to admit these things, that our community is not perfect, but that's reality, and we shouldn't ignore it. I think it's great. Anything that we can do to express pride in our heritage and also deliver it with some swagger and cool is very welcome. Does it ostracize other groups? I hope not, and it shouldn't. Like I said earlier, being proud of our heritage does not mean that we are less American. Also, being proud of being Filipino does not mean that we think other ethnic groups are less than we are. I agree that it is problematic that very few Filipino youths pursue higher education. But I guess another related question we need to ask is, what are they doing instead of pursuing higher education? If they decided to work instead in order to support or help out their families, then can we really hate on them? But if we are not pursuing higher education because they're getting involved in gangs, crimes, or other problematic behaviors, then sure, that is a concern, and we need to check that out. I know that as a professor, there's an expectation that I should be encouraging everybody to pursue higher education. But I guess I'm more realistic, and I also acknowledge the realities that many in the Filipino American community have. That perhaps they have no money to go to college, that perhaps they have a family they need to support, that perhaps they are already happy with their current jobs. Not pursuing higher education does not necessarily mean that they are up to no good. Wow. There are plenty of very influential people in my life. Just so I don't leave out anyone, because there are so many, I'll just say my mom. Even though she didn't finish elementary school, she's probably the wisest person I know. She is very giving and never ceases to love me, even though I made so many mistakes in my life. I love all Filipino dishes, from the tapsilog to dog. I can't even choose just one, so I will cheat and say two. Dinuguan and kare-kare with lots of bagoong. I just want to say thank you to Fil-Am for this opportunity to reach many members of our community. Also, I want to say that Filipino American Postcolonial Psychology, the book, it is a book that is driven by my desire to give psychology away to the community, by my desire to spark awareness and change in the community. I really hope that the community will support this work, as its success is really dependent on the community and the community support and love. So please check it out, Filipino American Postcolonial Psychology. If you would like more info about my work, you can go to www.colonialmentality.com, or if you have further questions, please contact me at ejrdavid@uaa.alaska.edu. Maraming salamat po, and I hope to get your support for the book. This is EJ David, and again, thank you for the opportunity. Makibaka and in kapwa. Peace.